Chin Yo-woon, an orphan from the demonic cult, has always been looked down upon and faced threats to his life. One day, he receives an unexpected visit from his future descendant, who inserts a nano machine into Chin's body. After the nano machine activates, Chin's life takes a dramatic turn. The story follows Chin's journey as he navigates through the demonic cult and strives to become the greatest martial artist. In the dark woods, Prince Chin finds himself in quite the pickle, sprinting for his life like a chicken with its head cut off. He ascends the mountain but, of course, stumbles, injuring his leg. He wonders why his leg has decided to take a permanent vacation, as if it's auditioning for a role in a soap opera about dramatic exits. Struggling to rise, he questions whether he has been dancing in the middle of someone's palms all along. Growing angry, the masked warrior sarcastically praises himself, saying, "Well done, Prince Chin. An hour of running, and you've made it here without losing a shoe." Laughter ensues, and the other masked warrior remarks that all the waiting has brought him to the verge of falling asleep. Clearly, they're more entertained than a cat watching a laser pointer. Prince Chin ponders what he should do now, realizing he lacks the strength to flee. He questions why he abandoned the idea of enrolling in the academy, feeling like the last slice of pizza at a party. Everyone wants him gone, but nobody wants to take the plunge. The masked warrior questions whether giving up on the academy or lacking talent in martial arts should even matter to someone like him. He asserts that as long as Prince Chin holds the right to the throne, this remains the only course of action. While he puts his sword on his shoulder, the other masked warrior insists on relinquishing resistance, stating there is no alternative escape route. He declares that even if peasant blood is mixed in him, being of the bloodline of that person should warrant a painless death, as if royal blood comes with a complimentary ticket to the afterlife. Prince Chin contemplates the notion of peasant blood, reflecting on how they dare dishonor his mother. He feels a surge of indignation, thinking that these individuals would never grant him a painless death, especially not after the way they've been treating him. Considering the inevitability of his demise, he resolves to fight until his last breath. The masked warrior inquires whether he has acquired martial arts skills from warrior guard Jang. Chin realizes that no, it seems he didn't inherit any skills. However, he acknowledges that he can't escape his bloodline, feeling like he's stuck in a family reunion where everyone is judging him for not being as talented as his cousins. He expresses determination, stating that even without training or skills, he refuses to surrender until the end. After all, if he's going down swinging, like a piñata at a birthday party. Everyone's waiting for the candy, but he's not going to make it easy for them. Finding the situation exhilarating, the masked warrior commands them to kill him, and they attack. Chin fights back, attempting to defend himself, but the warrior grabs him by the neck, questioning if this is the end of his resistance. Suddenly, Chin draws his sword, strikes the warrior, killing him, and declares that it serves him right. The remaining warriors are shocked, wondering how a kid who hasn't even mastered martial arts manages to kill one of their members. Chin must have pulled off the greatest magic trick since Houdini. A masked warrior runs to attack, abuses him, kicks him, and throws him away, causing him to bleed. The masked warrior says just because they went easy on him, he dared to do this. The warrior comes closer to him, puts his foot on his wound, and asks how it feels to have a hole in his stomach. Well, it's not exactly a spa day, but at least he is getting some attention. While he scratches the ground with his hand, the warrior presses his wound and says, "Die an excruciating death." The other warrior responds, stating that such an act isn't his style, but since their comrade died, he supposes there isn't a choice. Suddenly, a light emerges from another direction and strikes, causing the warrior to slice. The other warrior ponders the recent event, describing it as something akin to a beam of white light. An unknown person approaches them, and the warrior alerts his companion that the person is behind them. They move toward him and are ready to attack. He stands in front of them, and the warrior asks what that is, as he has never seen clothing like that before. One warrior attacks him and asks who he is. He uses his powers and retaliates, killing the warrior. The other warrior ponders what is happening here, as he disappears in a second. They contemplate the light, realizing that it is exactly what that light is. The warrior thinks that this is the power of a master who has risen to the highest level, but questions why an extraordinary master like him is defending that stupid kid. He considers that the kid has already lost a lot of blood, making him a lost cause, and believes their mission has been fulfilled. He decides to retreat and run away. However, the unknown person attacks him and kills him. Prince Chen remarks that it serves them all right and closes his eyes. He wonders about the identity of the person and what kind of nonsense he is spouting after appearing all of a sudden. He notes that his eyesight is getting fuzzy and he can't see. Feeling his entire body getting frigid, he thinks he is going to die like this. The unknown person asks if they have found him already and replies that he guesses there is no choice. While he presses a button on the watch, he says he was going to come here earlier and teach him how to use it, but he guesses they will have to improvise. He injected something into Prince Chen, informing him that he was the one administering it, which made the prince cringe and accept the situation. He then asks him about his ancestor, Nim, requesting him to ensure success and make this descendant's life easier. He says that this nano machine is the latest version, and operating should be simple enough, so good luck learning how to use it. He disappears again. Prince Chen thinks about what kind of nonsense that strange guy has been blabbering about. The system window notifies the serial number 034453258893. He thinks there is a strange voice inside his mind. The system window notifies Sky Corporation that it's the 7th generation of the nano machine, and its status is starting activation. Prince Chen reflects on the history of martial arts, recalling how, long ago, fighters from the Jianggu leaders used their skills to protect themselves from enemies. Over time, martial arts evolved from a simple method of self-defense into a complex tool for killing, much like how a butter knife can eventually be used to spread chaos at a family dinner. It becomes more sophisticated, with simple forms developing into a series of movements and breathing techniques that form the basics of internal energy. He notes that martial artists pass down their teachings and heirlooms to future generations, allowing martial arts to continue evolving. Those who master martial arts become more powerful than ordinary people and are soon known as the Morum people. He thinks about how fighters who wanted to become disciples of the Morum people gathered to form clans. These clans are like high school cliques, divided into forces of justice and forces of evil, with the demonic cult lurking in the shadows like that one kid who always eats glue. The world calls this group the demonic cult, and the illegitimate child of the highest-ranking family in the demonic cult, who has the right to the throne, is Prince Chen. This is his story. After a while, he opens his eyes and finds himself in a room. He is shocked to be alive, as he is sure his stomach is pierced by that sword. It's like waking up after a wild party, wondering how he managed to survive the night. He wonders what is happening and why he is sweating all over. He looks at his hand and notices strange black spots. He hears a voice saying that he is awake, master. He looks around and asks who the voice belongs to, but he doesn't see anyone. It's the kind of moment that makes him question if he's in a horror movie or just really bad at hide and seek. He wonders what is going on. The voice tells him to calm down. He considers the possibility of telepathy and recalls hearing about it before, but this feels different. It seems like the voice is coming directly from his head. The voice repeats that he is the right master. He shouts again, demanding to know who is speaking. The nano machine explains that it connects to and supports his brain and that it is Sky Corporation's 7th generation nano machine. Chen yells, asking what this means, who the voice is, and why it is doing this to him. The nano machine says it is the 7th generation nano machine. He asks about Nano and the evil god. The nano machine confirms that it is indeed a nano machine. He remembers that the evil god is worshipped by the demonic cult. He sits on the floor and shouts, questioning whether he really is the evil god. After a while, Guard Zhang talks to Dr. Beak. Dr. Beak mentions that it seems like an assassination attempt. Guard Zhang agrees and says there have been many such attempts recently. He doubts they would have sent him directly, as that would be like sending a toddler to negotiate a peace treaty. Dr. Beak responds that, of course, it must have been their top guard, as it is the only thing they could have done. He remarks that it is a miracle Prince Chen survived. Guard Zhang adds that he believes someone helped Prince Chen, though he cannot say who it was. Dr. Beak wonders if Guard Zhang can make an educated guess based on the clues. Guard Zhang agrees and recalls the terrible scene he saw yesterday. On the cold ground lay the bodies of demonic cult members without their upper bodies. Among them is one whose upper body is intact, but with a dagger stuck in his head, making him look like he lost a very bad game of poker. He hears someone breathing nearby and, through the pools of blood, instantly recognizes it as Prince Chin. Dr. Beak notes that Prince Chin has no visible wounds. Guard Zhang agrees, observing that while Chin's clothes are torn by a sword, his body is free of marks. It's like he's been through a blender, but somehow came out unscathed, as if he's wearing an invisibility cloak made of sheer luck. Dr. Beak questions who could have helped him, as it is unlikely the cult leader would be involved in such a fight. He appears puzzled but soon laughs, finding the situation intriguing, and quickly heads to Prince Chin's room. Prince Chin, still reeling from the chaos, asks if Dr. Beak is the one who saved his life. The nano machine responds that if he is asking about the person who saved him from the enemies, then no. However, if he means the one who put the master's dying body into self-healing mode, then yes. Chin feels a mix of confusion and relief, as if he's just discovered that his car has a built-in self-repair feature. He wants to know what self-healing mode means. The nano machine explains that it involves sending basic information to the master's brain. He asks about the master. The nano machine says it is finding the right words for this time and place. It reassures him that it is not the evil god he is talking about. Noticing the change in its tone, Prince Chin questions who it actually is. The nano machine says it is sending him basic information and a manual to his brain and asks him to accept it. Chin thinks this sounds suspiciously like a pop-up ad for a new app. Download now for a better life, he agrees. Suddenly, Prince Chin begins to vomit, and the nano machine explains that this is a normal reaction when first receiving the information. He will not feel dizzy or nauseous the second time. Feeling dizzy, Prince Chin cries and asks what is happening to him. He wonders about the nano machine and if it is true that thousands of machines are now inside him. The nano machine confirms this, stating that 6,482,040,000 nano machines are in his body. Chin is bewildered, saying it is neither human nor God. He asks if he can remove them. The nano machine says they are programmed to be removed only if he dies. Chin thinks about how his so-called half-brothers are desperately trying to kill him even though he has no strength, and now a mysterious nano machine is inside him. He wonders why this is happening and who put it in his body. Just then, Zhang knocks on the door and announces that Dr. Beak is here. Prince Chin tells the nano machine to stay quiet, worried that they might think he is strange if they see him talking to a voice in his head. The nano machine explains that it can read his thoughts to communicate and temporarily goes silent. Chin whispers that he understands and asks it to be quiet now. Guard Zhang notices that the prince seems to be asleep and says they need to stay quiet. He then asks if Prince Chin is awake. Chin's body is awake, and he notices a smell and wonders what it is. He realizes he had forgotten about that. It's the kind of smell that makes you question your life choices. Dr. Beak greets Prince Chin, reminding him that they have met before. Chin agrees and remembers the doctor from when his mother was sick. Dr. Beak says he needs to check Prince Chin's pulse and asks for his hand. Chin gives him his hand. Dr. Beak examines it and comments that something is very strange. Guard Zhang is concerned and wonders if something is wrong with the prince. Dr. Beak reassures them, saying it's quite the opposite. He says this could be a rare chance for Prince Chin. Chin asks what he means. Dr. Beak explains that Prince Chin's body has been cleansed of impurities and his energy flow has been activated. He asks if Prince Chin has taken some special medicine. Chin thinks about the last thing he remembers eating, definitely not something that would cleanse impurities. He asks for more details, unsure of what is being said. The doctor confirms that now Prince Chin has a perfect body for training in martial arts. Chin looks at the black, sticky spots and thinks of them as waste from his body. He notices the nano machine and asks how it works. The nano machine tells him to turn off silent mode. He does so. The nano machine confirms that silent mode is off and explains that the nanomachines inside his body have removed waste and reshaped his blood vessels, joints, and muscles to fit his body better. Now, he looks pleased, like someone who just got a free upgrade on their smartphone. Prince Chin reflects that he is not an evil god. The nano machine clarifies that it is not an evil god, but a machine. Prince Chin reflects that, even though the demonic cult includes many clans and families, only 6 are considered main clans. He remembers that the Lord must marry a woman from each of the 6 clans to ensure that his descendants are born, which sounds like a royal version of collecting trading cards. The children from each clan grow up within their own clan, and when they reach a certain age, they enter the Demonic Academy. He recalls that the Demonic Academy, which opens every 10 years, is led by top experts from the magistrate and was created to train the best warriors of each generation. Whenever several princes join the academy, it leads to a period of intense competition known as the Battle of the Heirs, which is basically like a reality show, but with more swords and fewer commercial breaks. He smiles and questions if he might actually be an evil god. The Nano machine informs him that he is not an evil god but a machine. He remembers that Dr. Beak is from the Poison clan and knows he must hide the Nano machine inside his body. The Nano machine reassures him that the technology of this era cannot detect its presence. Master Dr. Beak mentions that it is clear he received help from someone. He observes that there seems to be nothing wrong with his body, but decides to prescribe a tonic to help him regain his strength. Guard Jang thanks Dr. Beak and offers to escort him out. Dr. Beak declines, saying it is not necessary and that Guard Jang should instead keep an eye on Prince Chin. Prince Chin reflects on how strange it is that a person can change so much. He remembers that long ago, he thought he would be pushed out of the ranks due to his weak body and lack of martial arts knowledge. But now, with his current condition, he feels he could probably learn martial arts better than any of the other princes. Dr. Beak leaves, and Prince Chin thinks about how he is, after all, an illegitimate child of the Lord. He pretends not to care, but he is still interested. He considers that if the Lord has secretly helped him, there is no need to acknowledge it. He anticipates that the soon-to-be-opened Demonic Academy will be noisy. Prince Chin doubts he has fully grasped the situation. Reflecting on it, he realizes that his survival is thanks to Guard Jang. Even though the Nano machine healed him, he wonders what might have happened if Guard Jang hadn't arrived on time. He tries to thank Guard Jang, but the guard refuses, apologizing and telling the prince to wash up while pinching his nose. Jin smiles and agrees that he should. He takes a bath and talks to the Nano machine. He remembers asking earlier how much his body could heal if he put the machine in self-healing mode. The Nano machine explains that any internal or external wound caused by impact can heal quickly, but blood loss or decapitation will take much longer because they require cell division. Chin wonders why the machine keeps using such complicated terms. Meanwhile, he considers it might be worth testing out the device. He cuts his hand, and it starts bleeding, causing him to cry out in pain. The Nano machine tells him to activate the self-healing mode on his left palm for the cut, and it heals quickly. Chin reflects that, even though he just saw it happen, it is hard to believe. But now he knows it works. He remembers the information that was transferred to his mind earlier and realizes he can use all these functions. The Nano machine confirms that he can use everything shown in the instructions. He thinks it is amazing and decides to try it out after he finishes his bath. Then he realizes that something doesn't make sense. His body has suddenly become more muscular and toned. He wonders if the Nano machine does this too. The Nano machine confirms it and explains that it has reconstructed his body. He wonders what reconstruction means. An old man enters the room and says he is there to dress him. He tells the old man to go ahead. Meanwhile, the Nano machine explains that while it is scientifically impossible to create something from nothing, reconstructing an existing part of his body is not difficult. As the old man dresses him, he thinks the Nano machine's explanations are so complicated that they make everything he has learned seem useless. He asks the Nano machine if he can call it Nano since its name is so long. The Nano machine agrees to the new name, Nano. He finds this situation dull and wonders what to do next. Nano tells him to look into a book and flip through each page. He picks up a book and reflects that the only books related to martial arts discuss blood points. He thinks that the 3 Isim is a breathing method meant to train the mind and body. However, even practicing for the first time is difficult, and he struggles to achieve the lowest level. He decides that focusing on blood points seems more practical, like choosing to study for an exam instead of writing an essay. He begins with Nano. Nano agrees and prompts him to start. He flips through the pages and believes he has finished. Nano confirms that the book has been successfully scanned. The blood passage tries to transfer the information to his brain and asks him to accept it. He requests Nano to copy all the information. Nano confirms this is correct and asks him to accept. He agrees, and Nano scans the entire book and transfers the complete information. Prince Chen laughs, feeling like he just aced a test without even studying. Nano assures him he will soon become accustomed to it. He asks Nano if he is worried about him. Nano replies that it is just beginning. It jokingly asks what he should do next. Nano explains that to use the acquired knowledge, he must think about it to bring it up. It explains that blood points are crucial for the flow of blood in the veins and arteries and can simply be referred to as blood. There are two types of points, those that can immobilize and those that can kill. Prince Chen is astonished and realizes it's not just memorization. He can fully understand the content. Nano explains that it corrected errors in the book while transferring the information, making Chen feel like he's been given the ultimate cheat sheet. He wonders about the errors and realizes there were mistakes. Nano tells him that it corrected an error related to blood points based on the program's information. Surprised, he asks if this means he can learn and master martial arts faster than everyone else. He laughs, thinking about how the candidates of the 6 clans have mastered many fighting techniques from a young age, and even after observing them, he still struggled with the 3 Yisim methods. Chen considers that there aren't many books on martial arts in his study, but has heard there are many at the Demonic Academy. With his new ability, he believes he will become stronger faster than anyone else at the academy and decides that this will be his new goal. The scene shifts to the chamber of the heir candidate in the south castle of the demonic cult, House of Bakang. Prince Myung mentions that he sent 5 people to get rid of 1 boy, but all 5 are now dead. He questions if this makes any sense, feeling like he's just lost a game of chess against a toddler. The warrior responds that someone must have secretly helped the boy. Prince Mukum shouts and questions how someone dares to speak his name so freely. The warrior apologizes. Prince Mukum says he thought the boy would be easy to kill due to his low status and perceived stupidity. However, it seems the boy has unexpected abilities, like a hidden talent for karaoke that nobody saw coming. He wonders if the boy even attempted to eliminate the guard, realizing that someone else must be protecting him as well. He comments that he did not want to get his hands dirty, but now has no choice. He will have to kill the boy himself at the Demonic Academy. Prince Chinwon lies on his bed, unable to sleep due to his nerves. He reaches his hand out the window and asks if it is morning yet. Looking outside, he thinks about the day he will join the academy. He sees guard Jang practicing and wonders if it would have been better to secretly learn Jang's dagger techniques. He quickly dismisses this idea, realizing that the people from the 6 clans watching them would not leave him alone. When his mother passed away, he made a promise not to learn martial arts until he was admitted into the academy. The Nano machine contacts him, asking if he wants it to scan Gar Jang's movements. Surprised, he asks if it can scan the movements of other people. The Nano machine confirms that it can. Chin's mind races with possibilities, thinking it's like having a cheat code for life. He inquires if it can scan Jang's martial arts training and transfer it into his mind. The Nano machine replies that this is possible if the program has data on different martial arts techniques. It can even transfer the data to him right now. He thinks for a moment and wonders if it is right to steal Gar Jang's martial arts techniques without permission. He decides against it, knowing he must go to the academy without any regrets and doesn't have time to think about self-defense. He instructs the Nano machine to scan the techniques. The Nano machine activates the movement scan and starts examining all of Gar Jang's techniques, stating that the scan will take about half an hour. After some time, the Nano machine reports that the scan is complete and that the transfer to his brain will now begin. Chin thinks that, even so, it is more bearable than yesterday. While sitting near the window, he reflects for a moment, wondering how this is possible. He laughs and then quickly grabs his sword, believing he can also achieve success. As he looks outside, he reminds himself to be careful so Gar Jang doesn't notice him. He begins practicing Jang's techniques, noticing that they are similar to the training Jang did 20 years ago. As he trains, he focuses on improving each day, working on his posture and mastering the techniques with his body. He wonders if this helps him bypass the usual processes. The Nano machine says that while the movement scan is active, muscle analysis for training has also been completed. It asks if he will accept the transfer to his muscles. He agrees, needing the muscle transfer as well. The nano machine warns that without it, he will feel pain. Chen bends on the floor, feeling intense pain throughout his body, thinking that this is what he gets for trying to be a martial arts prodigy overnight. He asks the nano machine why his body hurts. The nano machine explains that through repetitive training, his body forms muscles suited for the movement. Since his muscles are not properly developed, there will be damage. He wonders why the nano machine can't explain this more simply. The nano machine suggests that it will simplify the explanation. It tells him that even though his brain has learned the techniques, his body needs to adjust. Since he hasn't trained like Garjang for a long time, the machine says he must simulate his muscles to become fully familiar with the movements. Only after this simulation can he use them effectively. He finds it a bit easier than before, but still hard to understand. The nano machine asks if he wants to set the language to the lowest level. He asks if the muscle transfer will be pain-free. The nano machine confirms this and explains that the process will take a few hours and will need every nano machine in his body. Chen decides to start it since there is still time before he has to leave. The nano machine informs him that the transfer will cause a lot of pain and that he will be put under anesthesia soon. He asks if it will hurt a lot. The nano machine says that there have been 135,000 cases of fainting due to this muscle transfer. Prince Chen asks if he can do it without anesthesia. The nano machine asks if he wants to try it without anesthesia and confirms that he can switch to anesthesia if needed. The transfer begins, and Prince Chen mentions he was too nervous. It just tickles. But then the nano machine injects anesthesia, and he groans in pain, falling onto his bed, realizing that tickling is a relative term. After a while, Garjang cooks food, tastes it, and says it is as good as most of the neighborhood master's cooking. He decides to make a simple meal that Prince Chen likes, hoping it's not another culinary disaster. While cutting vegetables, Garjang reflects on the 5 years since he learned to cook for Prince Chen. He remembers a time when he was not a good cook and recalls Lady Hwa asking him to take care of her son. Garjang also thinks about Lady Hwa's death from poisoned food and realizes that Prince Chen is now about to enter the academy. He prays for Lady Hwa to watch over Prince Chen from heaven so that he can survive and enjoy another meal. Suddenly, Garjang hears a shout and throws down his knife, rushing into the room to check on Prince Chen. He finds Prince Chen lying on his bed. Garjang calls out to him repeatedly but gets no response. He checks Prince Chen's pulse and sees no visible issues, questioning if this is intentional. He notices footsteps on the floor and wonders whose they are, reflecting on the steps and recalling that Prince Chen has been watching his training for at most 2 years and believes he has already caught up to his 20 years of training. The nano machine informs Prince Chen that the muscle and fiber transfer is complete and deactivates the anesthesia. Prince Chen wakes up, stands up, and decides he won't repeat this experience. The nano machine asks why he was lying down and if Garjang had come by shouting. Prince Chen retrieves his dagger and starts practicing the technique. The nano machine explains that the muscle transfer has given him the same physical ability as those who have practiced these movements for 20 years. As he practices, he finds the techniques more precise and powerful, and cutting through the air feels satisfying. He completes the first formation and begins the second, noticing the floor breaking. He worries that even though he didn't use Nigong, the marks could suggest he has already completed Wang, and he's concerned about Garjang seeing this. Garjang calls out that breakfast is ready. Prince Chen, alarmed, quickly fixes the marks on the floor, knowing they won't disappear easily. Garjang arrives, opens the door, and calls out again. Prince Chen hurriedly sets the table and expresses his hunger. He asks if he usually eats by the window, but explains that he wanted to face the center since he won't be home for a while. He smiles, thinking Garjang might not notice. He sees his favorite foods, stir-fried bok choy, roast pork rice, and a fried egg, and appreciates the care Garjang has shown, realizing this might be the last breakfast Garjang makes for him before he goes to the academy. The nano machine advises him to swallow the food with saliva to settle the acid. Annoyed, Prince Chen mutes the nano machine and focuses on eating. Garjang advises him to eat slowly to avoid indigestion. Prince Chen agrees, places his chopsticks back on the table, and comments that it was a good meal. Garjang asks if Prince Chen will stay and instructs him to continue practicing his dagger technique. Prince Chen is confused about what Guard Jiang means while Guard Jiang clears the table. Prince Chen examines the marks on the floor and realizes they come from moving into the second formation of his technique. The marks are clearer than before, and he feels his initial assessment was correct. He knows that stealing martial arts techniques is a serious taboo in Morum and feels he has committed a crime by using the nano machine's power. He fears Guard Jiang will be angry with him. Guard Jiang reassures him, saying it is acceptable if he learned in secret. He explains that as Prince Chen's guard, he would have taught him earlier if not for the oath of the 6 clans. He gives Prince Chen an envelope containing an energy flow method for the Nigong of the dagger technique and advises him to learn from the Academy's offerings as well. Guard Jiang reflects on the past, vowing not to cry again as he remembers his deceased mother. He recalls enduring hardship over the past 5 years and dealing with Prince Chen, who still seeks his parents' affection. Guard Jiang tells himself he can cry today but must become stronger in the future. He thanks Prince Chen and resolves to face the future without fear. He leaves, closing the door behind him, and thinks that even though his mother is gone, he still has a place to return to. The scene shifts to the academy, where disciples are lined up. One student asks if all the clans have gathered and estimates about 1,000 people. Another student feels nervous about being at the academy, while a third disciple notes that this is a competition between the heirs of small clans and they need to stay in line. Left Guardian Fire King Li Hwa Maying arrives and criticizes the noise and disorder among the disciples. He remarks on the lack of spirit and questions if they came without the resolve that this could be their last chance. Students recognize him as one of the top 10 strongest in the demonic cult, and some wonder if he is in the top 5. Meanwhile, Li Hwa Ming observes the front row, noting that the kids are the heirs of the 6 clans. He looks at the Sound clan members and wonders where Chen, the 7th heir, is.